Just like article directories, I'm certain that you're familiar with video sharing sites as a great place to upload your own content and to get a link back to your site. And just like article directories, video sharing sites like YouTube have thousands, and in YouTube's case, millions of other users who are uploading their content with the hopes of gaining views. So as long as a video on these sites has the embed code available, that user has agreed to and is even hoping that people like you will appreciate their content enough to share it with their own site visitors. So in this video, we're going to use video sharing sites to find some fantastic borrowed content that our readers will love. So here we are at YouTube. It's an old favorite. Everybody knows about it, and it is really the best source to find online video. YouTube is the second most popular search engine in the world. Google is at number 1, YouTube is at number 2, and that is above Yahoo and above Microsoft's Bing. So they have more active users, active searchers than Yahoo and Bing. So let's look for a great video for our tomato growing website. So we'll enter in tomato growing and see what we come up with. We've got something, this is a promoted video from Miracle Grow, which is a fertilizer company. And that may be a decent video, and I could certainly go and look at it and find out. Just because it is a commercial content video doesn't mean that it wouldn't have some good information for your readers or couldn't be a jumping off point to another conversation. In this case, we could talk about, is Miracle Grow in fact the best fertilizer for tomatoes, or is there a more tomato specific fertilizer that would be better, that kind of thing. And we could use this video to sort of frame that particular conversation. But I'd like to look at some of the user creative videos and see if there's anything that we could use. Here's a shorter one, and I've been looking for a shorter one as I'm going through these results so that we don't have to watch a big giant long one. Because just like articles, you really do need to watch these things yourself and vet them.
Tough economic times by growing some of your own food. Nothing produces more or is more tasty than homegrown tomatoes, so let's go to the garden. Choose tomato plants that are between 4 and 6 inches in height. Any larger and you'll have transplant shock. In the sunniest part of your garden, dig a hole 6 inches across and 6 inches deep.
Okay, so what I'm seeing thus far in this video is that he's given a couple of good tips about the size of the hole and then the actual size of the tomatoes. And so this is good, actionable information for people thus far. So I like this where we are right now.
In a cup of well-rotted cow manure.
Cow manure for fertilizer.
Is from a bag in a store, not from a stable or barn. Place a couple of inches of good black topsoil in the hole. Spread it out. Take the tomato plant. Notice all the capillaries on the stem. Those capillaries will form roots. So put the plant in the soil 2 inches deeper than it was in the pot. Pull in the topsoil. Press it firmly. Now form a mixture of 2 tablespoons of organic fertilizer in a gallon of water and pour about a cup of that solution around the tomato plant.
And that's another good tip.
And it is ready for growing. Next Thursday, I'll try to answer your questions. Let me know what you're thinking. Send your questions, comments to lemore@kmbc.com.
Okay, so that's a good video. It's short, and if I was really involved in this niche, I might want to choose something that's a little bit more in-depth. But as far as a newbie kind of piece of content, I think that that's a good video, and I would absolutely want to share that with my readers, with my own commentary, of course. So let's share this video, and we're going to embed it in our site. Oh, and look at that, they have disabled embedding on their videos, so this is actually a video that we cannot use, so we'll get out of here. Let's look for something else. Growing vegetables. This is from eHow, and just so that we don't go through that again, let's make sure that embedding is available. It is. We've got an ad, so I will pause this so that you don't have to watch that.
Mr. Green Thumb. Variety of tomatoes is called a patio tomato, and this one looks like a patio tomato. You can grow it in a container on your balcony, in your condominium, your apartment. If you've got a small space, you can still grow a patio tomato. Probably something as small as a gallon to 3 gallon size container would be adequate. If you've got one of the box type gardens, it makes an excellent choice. Now the beauty of the patio tomatoes is they'll produce all summer long. Some tomatoes tend to have a problem when it gets too hot, especially in some of the southern states. But the patio tomato, it's going to give you a nice extended season. Probably about 55 to 65 days from the time that you started, you'll be harvesting some of the patio tomatoes. Now there's some smaller varieties and there's some larger varieties as far as the size of the fruit. Make sure it gets full sun, make sure it's in a well-drained soil. You're usually going to improve the soil with extra peat moss, maybe some extra cow manure. Really try to make a good and rich soil, even in a small container. The patio tomato will give you hundreds of tomatoes over a good long season. For On Gardening, I'm Stan DeFreitas, Mr. Green Thumb.
Okay, so like a lot of eHow content, I'm not terribly impressed with that video because it was very surface level information. You know, you can grow some patio tomatoes and put them in a box or put them in a gallon container, but there's no actual specifics like there was in that first video that we looked at. And I really like there to be some specific information that people can work with when they are looking at the videos that we are borrowing. Because if it's just general like that, if it's just very surface, people aren't getting a whole lot of value from that. Nobody's going to walk away from that with an action plan or new information about what they can do as far as growing tomatoes. There's nothing new in that particular piece. So I'm not terribly impressed, and I'm not going to choose that video. And I want you to think about that too when you're doing your own borrowing of content and choosing videos from YouTube. Because again, this is the mom test. Would I be proud to show that to my family, to my friends? You know, I mean, it's not really all that great. There's really nothing that you walk away from that video going, oh, okay, you know, I can really get started with this, or I didn't know that particular piece of information. That's what you want people to feel when they've actually, when they've watched your videos that you're borrowing here. Here's one about tomato cages. This is a longer video, so I'm going to skip parts of it so that we don't have to watch it all. But since this is more specific, then it may have better information, and it is available for embedding. So we'll carry on.
Well,
there he
I
goes.
have to break down and get me some taller wire. That's a whole lot tougher than what I've been using for my tomato cages.
Well, this guy's a riot, if nothing else, right? He needs some taller wire. Let's see what else he has to say.
Down.
Alright, so he talks about his wire. He shows us how he actually builds the tomato cages. That's pretty impressive. Alright, excellent. He shows you how he clips it.
Trees I planted this spring, this just don't work.
Alright, so he talks about the size. It's a smaller cage, and then he built a bigger cage. Very good. And those are some monster tomato plants.
Now I've taken out most of my spring tomatoes, but I left a few because they're still growing, still flowering.
Alright. And what else does he get into here?
I don't know how big they get. First time planting them. But as you can see, I've replaced
Oh, I wonder what that thing's for.
with the larger one. We start out by removing our PVC waterer.
Waterer.
Now I'm going to replace it with a clean one, and when we get back to the shop, I'm going to show you just how easy they are to clean.
Because they get so big, so he uses that to get the water right down to the roots. That's smart. See, I wouldn't have thought of that. And there he is. He's cleaning it like he said he would. And then he gives us a little recap about what he's doing.
Oh, thank you. Ah. Yeah. Thank you, Lucy. Well, I hope you enjoyed it as much as...
That is a really, really, really big can of Coors Light to top things off. Alright, so if I were publishing a tomato growing site, I would absolutely add this gentleman's video to it. and use it as a piece of borrowed content. He's a character, he's funny, and it's got some really good actionable specific information, you know, how to build the cages yourself, the watering tube thing that he had going on. And in there also, I believe that he was talking about different varieties, because he was talking about how he didn't know how big this one was going to get. So he's talking about a lot of different, very specific, very actionable things. People could walk away from this video with some ideas, either on varieties of tomatoes that they want to plant, or how to make the tomato cages, or the PVC watering tubes, all that kind of stuff. Something that people could really hang on to and really walk away having learned something. So I would absolutely choose to embed this in my site if I were publishing this kind of blog. So let's go on over then to our blog post, and we would have an introduction, and you can watch the Always Be Shipping video in Module 5 called Personal Commentary. That's about what kind of things you could say in your introduction or conclusion when you are borrowing content like this. And then we need to add our actual video embed code, and I want that to be centered. So I click center, and I'm going to paste the embed code right here in between the text-align center code. So paste. And then we need a title for the video as well. He called it Big Tomato Cages Growing a Vegetable Garden, so I will give it a name. Growing tomatoes using cages. All right. And then again, we still need our commentary, and watch that personal commentary video on how to create that kind of thing. But let's take a peek at how this post looks in draft. And there's our video, and you can click play, and there it goes. So my users, if I were publishing a tomato growing site, would absolutely be able to watch this video, get some value from it, and of course my own commentary would be there as well. Now another site that I want to talk to you guys about and show you that actually I like the look and style of their videos as well, but they are not as popular as YouTube, so they don't have as many videos as YouTube does, but that's Vimeo. And I think that their videos just look really nice. Here's one right here. I like the way that the slider bar looks and all that, and you can find some great stuff here. So take a peek at Vimeo as well. We'll look for tomato growing, and we'll see what we can find. Naya Goose tomatoes. I wonder if that's a particular variety. If it is, that could be interesting. What is aquaponics? Tomato seedlings time lapse. That sounds fun. Let's take a peek. This footage was shot over the course of a week, showing the growth of tomato seedlings that will be planted in our garden. That's cool. That would be really fun for this kind of site. Alright, so that's cool, and it's something different. I mean, it isn't exactly educational in terms of how to, but I think that people who are very much into this topic would still walk away from that video thinking, you know, hey, wow, I really like that, and would like to, or, you know, would think that it's interesting. So we'll get the embed code, and we'll copy that, and then we'll come back over to our site. We'll delete this stuff. We would, of course, do an introduction, and then we would center our next line, because videos look better when they're centered. Paste that in there, and let's save the draft and take a peek at how that looks as well. There's a Vimeo video, and you can see that it's pretty small, and you can change the embed size and things like that. So I could change this to, say, 550, and then it automatically changes the height for me as well. So I could get a bigger video that fit in my site more fully, so that my users could watch a bigger video. So that is how you use Vimeo. And again, don't pass it up, because there is some really great stuff on Vimeo that you won't find on YouTube. Of course, YouTube is the bigger site, and you'll probably find the majority of stuff on YouTube, but look at them both when you're doing this process. Now, since this is a video, it's ultra important that you do your own introduction or your short spin on the content for your readers so that they can get a feel for what they're about to watch. It's also important for the search engines as well. With your words on the page, they'll be able to know too what the post is actually about, since a search engine spider can't watch a video. So again, watch that personal commentary video that's also a part of Module 5 here for more information about sculpting your own introduction and adding your other original thoughts about a piece that you're borrowing to ensure that you're really bringing true value to your users.